Hey guys, so there's been quite a lot of changes. I haven't made a video in a few days, so I just wanted to catch up on a lot of the things that have happened. So Blizzard's Twitter was kind of in a silence mode for about a week or two after all of these things have been going on. And I wanted to kind of catch up on everything. I was on the End of the Nexus podcast, and we went over a lot of this stuff, but I just was like, you know what, I haven't made a video about any of this. So I want to explain all of the updates that have been made, all of the changes that have been made in the last week, and compile it into one quick little video, and then I'll explain a little bit about what the title's about. So, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the balance patch that happened last Wednesday. I'm going to kind of shoot through this as my normal balance patch videos take 10 to 15 minutes by themselves, and I want to compile everything into a smaller video, so I'm just going to give a quick summary of what they did, and then go into it just a little bit. So, to start off, they had Cho'Gall saw a pretty decent sized nerf to their meta build. Now, Cho'Gall in all of their builds had something like a 55 to 65% win rate with people that played them consistently in Team League, while the people who had the specific build that was nerfed were rising up to nearing the 70% win rate marks in Team League when they were playing those, winning the majority of the games, even against teams that were much higher ranked. Cho'Gall is one of those characters that's easy to counter when you have a very competitive team that knows exactly what they're doing, but when you have teams that are just kind of random friends getting together to play the game, they weren't very fun to play against, and it got a little bit too difficult to counter, as what seemed like a good counter, like Tychus, was not really a good counter, because if you're in range to deal damage to Cho'Gall as Tychus, you're in range for Cho'Gall to completely blow you up. So, the way to actually counter Cho'Gall are things that don't really seem like the way to counter him. Things that remove them from the fight for a while. A Gorge, you remove them for 4 seconds. A Cocoon, you remove them for up to 8 seconds. Or a Maev's Crystal, which removes them from the game for about 4 seconds. So, if you can do that, you can pretty much fight a good 12 to, 16 seconds without even needing to worry about the Cho'Gall. However, they did nerf the main meta build. All the rest of the Cho'Gall is still going to be performing really strong for the people who are good at them. However, they'll be a little bit weaker for the people who are just playing them to try to dominate in Team League. Orphea received some nerfs, some well-needed nerfs. Samuro received some nerfs. Samuro, they found that if you ever sort by people who have Samuro over level 15 and are playing Samuro, the win rate was closing in on 65%. Again, that's still a wee bit too high for people playing Samuro every game. We saw Sylvanas got a decent-sized buff in terms of health regen, as well as the W. Zagara saw a little bit of a nerf into her early game bully potential, but a little bit more damage into team fights. I mean, maybe about the same damage in team fights, but a little bit less in the bully. And then we have the Ariel, Deckard, Morales, Uther. Ariel got a Q buff on her quest that people haven't been picking up. Deckard got a buff to a lot of talents that weren't being picked up. Morales and Uther both got buffs to a single talent at level 7 that weren't that popular. Cho'Gall. Diva got an 8% buff on her damage, as well as that's in mech form, which means an 8% buff in the timing you'll get your bomb as well. Mal'Ganis got a small buff onto his W, and Stitches got a small buff, actually a pretty significant buff for health and health regen, as well as a couple of his other talents. Those are those. If you would like more detailed information about that, I'll put the link in the description below. On to the matchmaking change. We saw a matchmaking change yesterday, and I know this isn't exactly in order, but this one doesn't require a lot of explanation, so I want to explain it. They liked what the Call of the Nexus did. They just didn't like that the queue times are really long, so they're going to temporarily loosen how rigid the rules are when it comes to the enforcing the meta compositions. They also are going to talk a little bit more about the Hero League and matchmaking. To increase the queue time, to speed up the queue times, they're making it to where Masters and Grandmasters can now be queued with people who are in Diamond 1 through 5. And they're still trying to prioritize everything else, trying to make sure that everyone's getting fast queue times, but also matches that feel good. To continue on with this, I didn't really like quick match for anyone. Whenever anyone asked me, like, what do we do to improve in the game? And I said, stop playing quick match. Your first problem is that you are learning bad habits because you're playing with team comps that don't make sense. And my best example of this is Abathur's trap build. If, say, you're on, like, Towers of Doom, and you play Abathur, and you get into a game where the enemies have no tanks and no healers, well, you can go trap build and set traps up in lines leading up to the objective that's about to spawn, because you can see where the next objective is going to spawn, and just slowly build up mines all the way around it. And then the second that the objective pops up, they start walking in and they start getting hit by 100 different mines as they're going in, and then they all take too much damage. They have to back. Your team gets the objective for free. Well, that's fun to have that build be viable. The second you try to bring that build into ranked, you're going to have a tank up all of the traps, and you're going to have a healer heal them back up, and that whole build's pretty much just useless against a team that actually knows what they're doing. Which is why I think that people learn so many bad habits that I think we need to have this in the game. It's just, I never enjoy a game that's like that. Like, it's fun, but then you realize that it's like, it gets old really fast. So not only do you learn really bad habits, it's making people worse to play quick match, but it's also just not often that time is that fun, because it's either stomp or be stomped. Because the draft decides so much. So that's really what they wanted to fix, and the queue times got a little long for assassin players, still pretty fast for healers and tanks. I mean, I was getting like 20-second queues, but that is something that they are trying to work on, and making it a little bit less rigid on trying to enforce these rules. And they do say it's temporary. So my hope is that while they make it a little bit nicer, maybe we still get more tank and healer mains in there that start getting used to playing tanks and healers for faster queues and more loot boxes, and they get used to it, and then they go from there. So that's kind of where that's coming from. Now on to the KO Milker announcement, and then I'm going to talk about a final announcement after that. He pretty much went through and he said, hey, guys, like, be ready. We're going to have a fun year. Let's start off the year with the 85th hero to be announced soon and hitting the PTR the first week of January. We all know what happens when a hero hits the first week in January. 1, I make a video. 2, we have the hero will release a week after, meaning that what he's truly announced is that the 85th hero will be released the second week of January. That means we have about 3 weeks, and we probably won't be playing too much anyways, as we've got all this stuff coming up with Christmas for everyone that's in the that celebrates Christmas, or anything in the holidays for that matter. And so we're going to probably be busy for at least a week or 2 of this, and then before we know it, the new hero is going to be out. So this is pretty cool. On to the all of this, I'm just going to skip past all this and say this is all just PR mumbo jumbo. All right, let's get right into this though. So he says he can't give details about it, but he wants to talk about some of this stuff that they're doing to we're also, considering some things to make it to where Heroes is just better for the players, right? They're trying to look at everything differently now. They're trying to figure out what didn't work. I mean, it's pretty obvious something didn't work if they had to do all of this. You know what I mean? So they want to make sure that they can find a way to make this work. So they're going to be finalizing the hero role overhaul. That's this whole thing. We saw this at BlizzCon. We've talked about it, and I don't think I've talked about it on my particular channel, but to be completely honest, I don't think it really affects us very much, because we can still play whatever we want to. You know what I mean? Like, if we need a healer, and like, I do this all the time. If I'm in a game and it's a really large map and everyone has self-healing and we need a healer, I could be like, I'm just going to use Abathur as a main healer. And so we don't need to be defined by these, but these are just there to help out new players to know what's going on. If you guys need a main tank, now we don't need to worry about people going, oh, I need to pick a main tank. I'm going to pick Artanis or Leoric, and those aren't actually main tanks. Now we know that there is a tank role that has all of the beefiest people with the highest survivability in that role. If someone's like, hey, I need a solo laner, who should I pick? You should be like, you know what? Just for now, because we don't have time to explain all of the solo laners, just pick anything that's a bruiser. And then in the future, you could explain, well, you know what? Phoenix is actually a really good solo laner, as well as, Phoenix is a really good solo laner, and you could explain all the other things. But if you're in the middle of a game, it's easy to say, just pick a bruiser. Same thing, we don't need to worry about someone seeing support and seeing Tassadar and going, all right, I'll pick Tassadar as a main healer, when there are now the main healer roles here. So overall, it's a great thing for new players, not necessarily going to change anything for the average player. They're going to look at the ranked play, which we've also already talked about, all of the ranked changes they're doing, as well as they are bringing back the ability to directly purchase individual skins with gems, which means that Alex Straw's a skin that everyone's been looking at, but you don't want to buy like 12 colors just to be able to get it. It looks like they're going to make the possibility of getting this individual skins with gems. Also, it breaks it apart from all the bundles. And now here's the reason that's in the title: adding the ability to get more content like skins and mounts with gold. So they were planning on bringing this out sooner than later to have the ability to buy skins with gold, which is cool. I mean, it's kind of like the master skin thing all over again. Like, we can have the possibility of getting like master skins with gold. Now, I don't think they're actually going to bring back master skins, but I think this is more of just the idea of, well, you might be able to buy skins with gold, and then when they bring out a new hero, you're out of gold, so you might buy it with cash. I think that's their general idea about it. But the cool part about this is, for everyone who's been sitting on like 80,000 gold, now you can buy a couple skins. So that's really what I wanted to share in all of this. There's a lot more stuff that they want to explain, and they say, please share your thoughts and what you'd like to see in 2019 while letting us know how you can continue improving this game. Now, I'm going to take this very, very literally, and I'm going to send in some messages because I've talked about some ideas in the past, and I'm going to just send in a couple ideas. So there's one final announcement that I wanted to make. It's not mentioned in here at all, but for everyone who's saying that this and they're also extending the winter event until January 4th. Or February 4th. People keep saying that every one of the talent has left the game. And there was this particular announcement that was brought up that kind of said, hey, Oscar Vega's still here. And when Oscar Vega was still here, then another person said, so is Lana, and so is Kina, and all these other people are still here. And these are just the ones that have made announcements that have said that they're still here. There are a lot of Blizzard employees, really big name ones, that have helped out a lot in the community. People who I've done interviews with, people that I've talked to, people that I still talk to quite a lot, are still at the company. So don't think that the whole company's just done. The whole Heroes of the Storm's just done. There are still a lot of people there, and there is still a lot of things going on in the back end, and it looks like they're going to take the team that they have, they're going to try out some new stuff, and if the new stuff works, they're going to jump back into it. And if the new stuff doesn't work, then we might be seeing some other more scary things. But this is kind of what it looks like they're doing right now, as a lot of the big people are still in there. Lana, for example, she is one of the best animators I have ever seen. I met her at BlizzCon. She's very nice, and she's very passionate too. I mean, she sat there the first day I was there. She sat in a room and literally just answered questions that anyone wanted to ask, and she answered questions for like 8 hours straight. Not even kidding you. And it was the coolest thing. So I sat there, and I mean, there were a couple Blizzard employees there, and I sat there and just asked questions for 8 hours straight. I'm not even kidding you guys. So while she was there, it was awesome. So anyways, they're still here, guys. A lot of the most passionate people on the team are still here. They're still working hard. And there's some new faces. So I explained this before on the podcast that I was on, that they're currently hiring 2 things right now. And those are only the big things that are being shown. They don't actually list their game designers that they're hiring. They just pull people around from other stuff. So they're listing 2 really important jobs that they're hiring for right now. And so it's not that they're pulling everyone away to just go into maintenance mode. They're moving people around because something wasn't working, and so they want to freshen up the team a little bit. So that's really what I wanted to explain. Just kind of my announcement after all of the other announcements, and even some more announcements. Thank you all for staying for this entire, 15-minute video talking about all the announcements of announcements, as well as a little bit of a clickbait about the fact that we can now buy, or we're going to be able to buy, skins and mounts with gold. Thank you all for watching, and try to keep everything positive, whether you are switching to another game or you aren't, whether you are having fun doing other stuff. I play other games too, I just don't do a lot of videos for them, so it's not like I'm going to be upset if you guys are like, I'm having fun on Warframe right now. It's like, you know what? I'm having fun on Divinity Original Sin 2, so we're all having fun on different games. But I'm also still playing Heroes of the Storm, and I'll be streaming it today. So I just kind of want to do all these announcements before I start streaming today, and we'll get this going. So I'll post this video out in a second, and then y'all can have fun doing whatever y'all have fun doing, and just let you guys know that they are trying. It may have been dire this last week, but I'm pretty optimistic about it right now.